Yes, sir. Went a little old school this morning, Pastor Haynes. I know you got a good word this morning. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Rickey, Smiley, and thank you for starting our day off right. But he's been so good. I love that line in the song that talks about, have you ever had a problem you thought would knock you down? Listen, all of us have been there where we have been perplexed by problems that were all around us. All of us have been there where we were caught up in circumstances beyond our control that had our lives spinning out of control. All of us have been there with our backs against the wall, and we found ourselves being pummeled by life to the point where it seemed like we were about to get knocked down. We were going down. But this song says it's in those moments that God's goodness shows up in ways that will blow your mind. I love it. He said, have you ever had a problem you thought would knock you down? And then he said, he's been good, meaning that God's goodness has a way of showing up and showing out just when we need it the most. God's goodness is at its best when we are going through our worst. God's goodness has a way of helping us keep it together when our world is falling apart. God's goodness gives us peace in the midst of the storm. You see, God's goodness doesn't have to take you out of the storm, but God's goodness can give you peace while you're in the storm so that somehow you maintain your composure in the midst of chaos. You somehow keep it together when everything around you seems to be falling apart. That's God's goodness. And so whenever you have a problem you think is going to knock you down, remember that God's goodness has a way of showing up when life is at its worst. And God's goodness, watch this, will get in you in spite of all of the junk that's going on around you. But then he goes on to say it's in that moment that before we could fall that God picks us up. Isn't it good to know that God will pick you up? Isn't it good to know that when you feel like you're going down, before you can hit the ground, you are caught by the hands of God's goodness, and the hands of God's goodness hold you, and then after holding you, put you back up on your feet so you end up stronger than you were before life's problems tried to knock you down. I'm just trying to let you know that God's goodness is at its best when life is at its worst. God's goodness shows up just when we're going down, and before you know it, we end up stronger, wiser, and better. So that's my testimony today. God's been good, God is good, and God can't help but be good, so it's all good.
I know that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The senior pastor of Friendship West Missionary Baptist Church, Dallas, Texas, Pastor Frederick Douglass Haynes. Pastor Haynes, let everybody know how you can be reached.
Hey, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at FH Unscripted. I'm on Facebook, Frederick D. Haynes, and my YouTube channel is Frederick Haynes.
There it is. All right, Pastor Haynes, have a good day. Thank you, and we love you, man.
Hey, man, I love you. Thank you. Have a good day.